Welcome to Monday Morning Express. On today's show, Scott Inman is going to show us an important part of installing DCC, and of course the all-important decoder testing before that final install.
Yeah, because you don't want to figure out after it's all done that it doesn't work. So that's great info. And we get to see Boyd again.
Yeah, nice.
We had fun with him last week, watching him up there in Branson. So we look forward to part 2 of that and see what he has in store for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those who like painting, like myself, you'll be particularly interested in our second segment and our how-to with Hal as we go back into the paint booth and we do a little bit more painting. And also on today's show, Dan, we're going to get into that weathering with the master of weathering, Mr. Jerry Spoelma. We look forward to giving you a little insight into some of his little techniques that he's going to share with us.
Yeah, we've been teasing our viewers since our pilot, and that has been a very tight circle who's really seeing the behind the scenes and what goes into that weathering. So if you want to try it yourself, it'll be great, but even if you just want to really appreciate what goes behind the thought process and so many layers, it's a great segment that's coming up. And finally, we have part 3 with Kenichi and Fred. So that'll be our history segment today. It's going to be another great episode.
Scott, now we've got all the wires soldered together, right? So tell us a little bit about what you have here then.
Okay, well basically we've got a finished product before we mesh the wires into the model, which can be somewhat time consuming because you want to be careful that you can get them all up into the boiler in this case. But what we have here is we've finished the wiring so that all of our wires go to the proper feeds. The motor wires go to the positive and negative of the motor. We have the track power coming through from both the tender and the locomotive frame. And then we've put our resistors in parallel with the circuit for the headlight and the rear light.
Right. Thus we need 2 of them, right? Okay.
Yep. Yeah, you have to have 1 resistor per bolt.
Right. Okay. Now I'm going to put you on the spot just a little bit because what happened to our boiler weight?
Well, sometimes we have to make sacrifices.
Okay.
Now, these little 060s are already pretty heavy for their size, of course, being brass. So they do pretty good. But that boiler weight that was up in the smokestack, or the smoke box, we did remove it. And I would suggest that if anyone wanted to add equivalent weight, they could use either strip lead or lead shot. Yeah. Put it in here, glue it down with some canopy cement. That the longevity of that is pretty robust.
Okay, very good. All right, so now you're going to go ahead and we'll clean up some of our mess here. We're going to put this thing back together. See, this is Boyd's place, so don't worry about it, all right?
That's right.
He cleans it all up. So we appreciate that. So no worries there.
No worries.
All right, so you're going to go ahead and put this back together then, and then we'll go ahead and test track it in just a bit, right?
That's the plan.
Okay, let's do it. Our loco and tender, it's all back together. It's on the track. We're ready for the fun part, the testing, right?
Yeah.
So let's go ahead.
What we want to do is run through some of the sounds just to make sure that those are picking up and we can hear them well from a distance of about 3 feet.
Okay.
And also we'll test the headlight just to make sure we've got everything wired correctly. Sounds to me like we've got it all. The power is picking up well. And then now the user can customize all of the sounds by programming, whether they use CV or Decoder Pro. And that's the final frontier in the installation of a sound decoder.
Nice. So overall, now we know we've edited some of this and a little bit of pre-work done. Takes about how long?
From start to finish, if you lay out your decoder and test it like we did and then do the install, it's about a 2-hour process.
Okay.
And in this particular event, we changed the headlights out for newer ones as well because they're just brighter and better. But you can plan to spend a good evening doing something like this.
Okay. So overall, though, it's not too intimidating.
No.
Right? You've got the instructions, and if we follow all of that and some of the tips that we've seen here in these segments, individuals really can do this, right?
Absolutely. I think that the most intimidating part of the process is this phase, choosing the right hardware.
Yeah.
And as long as you have good tools, the right hardware, and you're disciplined in your installation procedures to make sure you double check, then it's a relatively easy process.
Okay, very good. Well, we certainly appreciate it, and we appreciate all your help in doing this.
bet.
And you know what? Maybe in a future episode, what we're going to do is we'll take a look at models that are built nowadays. They're coming with this DCC ready, and you could show us how to go about installing those.
I'd be more than glad to.
All right, thanks, Scott.
You bet.
All the cars built in the 1947 order had these paintings, or these murals, on the wall.
That's very nice.
Silver Terrace. And this car was also Dome Coach? Original?
Dome parlor observation.
Oh, okay.
These cars were unique. They had a drawing room underneath the dome,
Aha.
which is locked. Our crew uses that.
Oh, okay.
We know the bathrooms. And we're still using it in the parlor configuration.
Oh, those are nice. I saw you have the stairways. Are these lit? Do they light up at night?
These are the original blue side handrails when the car was built in 1952.
Wow. Those are nice. Really nice up here. It's really nice to see cars like this that are being brought back into action. Short lines, and for all of us to still enjoy throughout these years. It's a really beautiful train. I would really highly recommend visiting the Branson Scenic.
The domes are very popular.
Oh yeah. So it's a first come, first serve.
Yes.
Hey, when you get on board, when you buy your tickets, so it's better to buy them in
The lower
advance.
number you get,
We wow.
board by number.
Oh, good. So folks, remember, get your tickets early.
This car is the silver. When it was originally built for the Pennsylvania Railroad, it was a parlor car named the Casimir Pulaski. So it went from Pennsy to Amtrak. Amtrak converted it into a food service car, which is what you see today, and that's why we purchased it for our tourist
Yeah.
ride. Morning, ladies.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Here's the crew working hard, getting ready for the trip.
This is Donna.
Hello.
Jasmine, right?
Hi, Jasmine.
Mother-daughter combination.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's right. And you.
Hello.
a Silver Garden, which was also built in 1952, along with the Silver Terrace, specifically for the Kansas City Zephyr that ran from Chicago to Kansas City.
You guys still have the desk there.
This is where our narrator sits.
Oh, okay.
And this is the original configuration of the car.
Wow. Look at those dome seats up there. Wow, these are beautiful. Did these come with the car, the seats?
The seats were in the car when we bought it.
Wow. They're really nice.
This was one of the 5 cars I was telling you about that another company before Branson Scenic Railway we got a bank auction in Kansas City and bought 5 Bud stainless steel dome cars.
Wow. This is nice. Really nice.
Safety is a big deal for us in this operation, so you'll notice as you walk along, there's white areas on all the steps for customers to be able to see where their steps are.
Okay, yeah. Is that little kitchen still active underneath the dome?
No.
It's a bit, okay. Wow, these are nice. Restroom back there. Wow,
now
these are
we're
beautiful.
At the Eagle, which was built in 1949 for the Texas and Pacific Railroad as a 60-seat deluxe rigorous coach.
Did this ever end up on Amtrak?
No. It went to I believe, a museum instead of Amtrak.
Yeah.
And then the party we bought it from acquired it from the museum, and they restored the car and put it into Amtrak charter service. And when we started in 1993, this was not the car we had to start with, but the following year, this car arrived, and it's been here ever since.
So tell me, Tom, have your cars ever been used in movies or any? The interior work is it's really
yes.
neat.
The Silver Garden was in a Class B movie at one time.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's really nice. I mean, to get interiors like this, still in this condition, they're really beautiful.
Hey, Bob.
Hi, Dan.
It's so great to see you again.
How was the trip?
Oh, it was wonderful, and thanks so much for having us out.
Welcome to Carmel Valley.
It is amazingly
Isn't it a beautiful day? Yeah.
Now, I got to tell you, I'm not sure where Roland went, and you have this beautiful property with the golf course and tennis court, and would you mind if I just kind of played around a little bit until Roland gets here?
Go for it.
Hey, thanks, buddy. Four. See, man, I told you were going to have a great time out here in California with us. Whew, I worked up a sweat with all that golfing and tennis. Man, I wish I would have brought my swimsuit.
We've taken our Great Northern C1, we've taken it apart, right?
Yep, I've taken off all plastic.
All the plastic, as we mentioned in our previous segment there. So now we have it ready to go. Tell us a little bit now what we have here. I know we have our aircraft remover and we have our lacquer thinner. So just tell us what we're going to do.
Okay, Tenshoto paint. Now I don't know about Fujiyama paint, but Tenshoto paint has a tendency to go into solution. When I put it in a lacquer thinner, it won't come off in flakes of paint.
Okay.
And I just wanted to show this, that I don't recommend the remover on Tenshoto paint.
Okay.
Because if you got a white kitchen sink, you're going to have black mess all in that
If
sink.
you've got a white kitchen sink and your wife lets you do this in your kitchen sink,
Don't worry about it. Brillo pad will take it off.
There you go. Well, give us an example here. We're not going to touch our C1 with this just yet, but you're going to show us what it should do.
Okay, it'll come off, but I'm going to show you, I'm going to go ahead and
Oh, you're going to show us, so we're going to make a mess, huh?
we're going to make a mess here a minute. I'm just
right.
going to let that sit there for a minute.
Okay.
And then I'm going to brush. When I brush this off, the paint's going to come off.
Yeah.
But then I'm going to wipe this brush
You're going to show us what
on
happens.
that paper towel.
Okay. We got our little container here. Should
Yeah.
We'll just put it in there. Okay.
We're going to let that sit there.
Okay. There's no plastic on here whatsoever. All right. It's just a fine, clean, hollow shell. That's all it is.
Yeah,
Is
took
just
the
a
weight
shell.
out because if you drop it, there's less chance of it.
Right.
It'd
Okay. No
probably-
wiring, no nothing in there.
Yeah.
See, that's great.
And something I recommend for those who are going to want to set something like this at home,
Mm-hmm.
I have down on my floor some old carpet.
Yeah.
Carpet's a lot softer than concrete.
Sure.
And if you're afraid you might trip or something, you can put a piece of 2-inch foam down there.
Okay. Good idea. Good idea. Okay. So can you
now,
show us this?
I'm going
See what's
to
gonna
rub
happen
this
here.
with the. See, it's coming off.
Yeah.
Now, see the color of it? Mm-hmm. Now, move that pan there for me, Roland.
Ooh. I'm going to show that to the camera. Yeah.
You're
look
going to have
at
that inside your sink.
Oh boy, what a mess here, huh? Yeah, that's no good.
Okay, that's all. That's
So
all I'm going to do.
That's all
on
you
this.
want to show us. Don't use aircraft remover on Tenshoto paint. is what you're
Tenshoto
saying.
paint. Oh, it'll work, but you're
Yeah.
going to have a mess. We're going to
Mess.
set
Okay.
that there. Now, this is one that the engine got dropped,
Okay.
and I'm just going to smear one. I'm not going to take it apart right now.
Okay.
I'm just going to show you what
What aircraft remover should do.
we'll do to this
Right.
one that's not Tenshoto paint.
Okay.
So we're just going to set that in the tray here.
All right. You know what we'll do is let me bring this tray forward so we can
So you
kind
can
of watch
see
it.
inside of it.
Yeah. I think we'll pick it up there, so no problem. We should be good. All right. Excellent.
I'll put that back over
Okay,
here.
so that's curing, and that's going to take the paint off in a different way.
Yeah, you want it to flake off. See, the
Okay.
Tenshoto paint dissolves into the stripper.
Okay.
That's why you're getting a mess there.
Right.
When later on we're going to put this boiler and this lacquer thinner, turn on the ultrasonic and watch this lacquer thinner, you'll get black. Okay, this
Let's
has
see what a
probably
piece
been.
looks like. And can we hold that up here just a little bit? There you go. Oh, look at that. Flake right off. Excellent. Oh, yeah.
That's the way it should come off.
That's
Now this
nice,
is
huh?
not Tenshoto paint.
Right,
I don't know
right.
what it is. Being somebody's put a primer on there, this may be, and it's probably, I don't know if it's ever been grit blasted, but I remember in the old days when Flowquill was in business, you put down there zinc chromate primer over
Yeah.
something that's been sandblasted. Good
Yeah.
luck on getting it off.
Here, let me just take a look at that and see here. Yeah, boy, that stuff. Yeah, you can it's very smooth. So now we're going to need to put our loco inside of this jar for our ultrasonic cleaner, right?
Okay. Yep.
And by the way, before we do this, what we're going to do is drop it in there. And how long are we going to leave it in here?
I usually mine about 45 minutes. It may come off quicker than that.
Okay.
45 minutes, I go watch TV.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm hungry. I want to eat some
That's
lunch.
right. Okay.
I got to keep up my figure.
I'm gonna
So let's put her in here and we'll go to lunch. How about that?
put that in there and just clamp it. Now, if you will,
Tilt it forward here for you.
that way I can pull it out.
There you go.
Now turn on that
All right.
ultrasonic cleaner.
And then we'll go get a bite to eat.
We'll go get a bite to eat.
Sounds good, buddy.
Okay.
Let's go. All right, it's been 40 minutes, Al. Let's see what we've got. All right, let's bring it
That
out.
over, and I'll reach up here.
Here,
and
let's,
pull the little baby out.
Just put a little cover here so that we don't
Okay,
trip.
put that paper under there.
All right, you got it?
And
Oh
hold it
boy.
right there, and a little.
Boy, she's looking good. Look at that. I feel like I've been scrubbing all day.
Just like it was when it was painted at Tenshoto.
Look at that. Very, very nice. What a nice, clean job. Just so we get it, can just tell our audience the next steps, and we're going to go ahead and take care of the tender and the underbodies. We're going to put them inside the ultrasonic cleaner too. We're going to come back and get those out. When those are done in about 40 minutes, we'll put all of them in there at once. But then our next step is to sandblast.
That's right.
Right? So tell me a little bit about what to expect when we go to sandblast this model.
Aluminum oxide, 300 grit or smaller.
Okay.
When I say smaller, the number goes up.
Goes up, right.
Aluminum oxide, and it says removes the base metal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recommend removing paint, especially if it's really on, because if you just say you're blasting this with aluminum oxide, it's painted, and the paint doesn't start coming off right here for some reason or another. As you keep blasting, it's removing brass.
Right.
So finally, when you get it off and you put your first coat of paint on, you'll see where that blotch of paint was.
So now, can I ask you, when you spray the aluminum oxide, so you're not staying in one spot, you're a really fine coat?
I go at a shallow angle.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, if you sit there with 280 grit, 250 grit aluminum oxide, you can remove rivet detail.
Yeah. So we don't want to do that. So it's
I just go down it, and I'm spraying at 80 psi.
Yeah.
I've never have warped a brass engine with aluminum oxide.
Okay. And again, the reason for it is because we want to do what?
The aluminum oxide is going to make that brass look like 2,000 grit paper. It puts microchips in it, but you can't see. The paint's going to fill them up, but it gives something to paint.
Paint can. So we're going to make this shiny. It's going to have some dullness to it.
It's going to be flat. When you get
as soon
done
as
with
we can
the-
do it. But it gives us something for the paint to bite to.
Paint bites too. You don't
Excellent.
need primer.
Okay, very good. So that's a technique that you use. That's awesome. We're going to take a look at that. So we've got our workout out with us for us here. We're going to put our tender and everything inside the.
If you'll take that out for me,
Sure.
I will see if I can get these in there without destroying them.
Okay.
Put that down. I'm leaving the wheels and everything on it. The only thing I took off was a little Tenshoto emblem.
Right. And we'll put that on at the very end.
Now I'll say that everything on here, plastic is all gone.
Okay. It all fit well. We got it good. We got our work cut out for us. Our ultrasonic cleaner is going to be set for 40 minutes again. And by the time we come back, after we're done with that, we're going to go ahead and sandblast these. So in our next segment, we're going to come back with pieces that are, well, they've already been sandblasted, and we'll be back to take a look at them afterwards.
Okay.
Dan, here we are in sunny California, Pasadena, and what a better place on a sunny day to talk about trains. We're at the coach yard.
That's right.
All right. And so today we thought we'd just take something that we haven't really addressed before, and that is weathering of brass model trains. You know, in the past, I know we've gotten some across our site, and we at one time had the thought that, well, weathering might devalue a model, but I think we've seen with proper or excellent weathering that it actually increases the value of a model.
Yeah, I used to tell people when they would call that if a model was weathered, what it would do is it would reduce the amount of people that would want that model.
Right.
Because many collectors wanted, at least in my opinion, in our opinion, a pristine model, like as it came from the factory. And it is true that not everybody wants a weathered model, but it's something that when it's much like a paint job, like we tell people, well, does paint increase or decrease? It kind of depends on the quality of paint. If, in some cases, a custom paint job can be better than a factory paint job. And that's certainly true with weathering. If it's a top quality weathering job, it is creating something that is so realistic when you put it on a proper layout or in a setting and take a photograph. It's hard to even tell if you're looking at the prototype or a model.
Yeah. And based upon what we have here on the table, I can say in looking at these, and these are incredible weathering jobs, each one of them has their own character. There's no two that are the same. And when they're done so well like they are here by some of our masters,
right.
we really appreciate it.
And I want to add to that because we had a customer once who was a professional, well-known artist. Mm-hmm. And he would only buy a well-weathered model because in his mind, that was true art. It looked so much like the real thing that's what he loved. And I think that was kind of a nice way to sum up how many feel about these. But you mentioned it's hard to get information about really what goes into it because it's much more than just airbrushing it or there's so much that goes into that. So how would we find out more about it?
I don't know. We've had Boyd on the show. We've had Hal on the show. But they don't necessarily weather.
That's not their main forte.
Yeah, so why don't we just talk to a couple of guys who really can weather. In fact, who have performed this beauties right here in front of us on the table. And why don't we make it a series?
All right.
We'll go through and we'll see about how to weather brass model train. Look who we have with us.
Hey, guys.
All right, so we have Jerry Spoelma and Juan Zuloaga.
Good to see you again.
Nice to have you with us.
Thank you for having us.
Now, Juan, I know that you've learned a lot from Jerry. So we're going to have to call Jerry the master, you're the grasshopper. Is that okay?
That's perfect. It pretty much describes us.
Yeah. So how's it been learning from Jerry?
Outstanding. I mean, when I first met Jerry, I had my own ideas of weathering, and airbrushing was very common for me at that time. And when I saw his weathering jobs, I was just awestruck because I was like, wow, I want to do that. That was a new standard set completely. And it was not necessarily, not only did it give the model character, but it was truly a work of art. And as I got to know Jerry, and he was definitely an art major and knew what he was doing. And so it wasn't something that he just came up and I watched for many hours and practiced a lot. And I could still say, even though I've been doing this for over about 25 to 30 years now, I'm still not up to the
master.
To the master. He's definitely A1 on that.
Are you blushing, Jerry? Just a little bit?
Never been called a master before.
Yeah, right. Having this guy around, how was it?
Well, he was a pain. Well, never mind.
There you go.
He was okay. He understood what I was doing from the beginning, and so that having that knowledge, he just got into it, and it's a process. What you do today, you may not like next month because you're continually improving your technique, and he does that. He's even taught me a few things. And taught me a few things I didn't want. It's weathering's an individual deal anyway, and I weather these models because I've seen the steam locomotive in service. I have a large collection of photographs. I just like the steam locomotive, and to me, this is representing what I've come to like.
Sure.
And it's been work. It's been fun.
Yeah. And how long have you been weathering now?
Bob DeWitt, a friend of mine, got me started early 60s.
Okay.
Something like that. And it's interesting. When I started, there was not that many models out there and not that many books. But as books and research came available, brass became even more available, and my likes and dislikes got larger. But also, I saw more pictures that indicated that even weathering has a locale or a certain area. Southwest has its own characteristics. Northern areas have different characteristics, which I found all of that interesting. Then in later years, color books came out, and that was a real
that's a game changer.
I had to get rid of a lot of black and white books. But no, I just enjoy the steam locomotive, and I enjoy trying to make it the way I remember it.
Yeah. Now, we were talking earlier, and you were telling me about there are many different types of techniques that are out there as far as weathering is concerned, and yours is going to be different than what perhaps someone else is going to do.
There are so many different, there's no one correct way of doing it. There are so many different techniques. I like going to train shows to learn what other people are doing and see if I can adopt anything from that to what I do. And it's been a great help. The narrow gauge convention has been good. There's a lot of modelers. Jim Booth has been quite helpful. He's had clinics, and it's interesting. I always learn something at those.
Very nice. So throughout this series, and we certainly want to thank you both ahead of time for sharing with us some of your expertise in this weathering technique. And in these series that are about to come in these next few weeks, we're going to see this particular model, the K36 right here, that you've done from beginning to end, and the weathering process. And in viewing some of this, I have a great appreciation now for what's involved and how many different steps there are in weathering.
Well, people ask me all the time, how do I do it or whatever. And occasionally, if I know them, I start describing what I do. And not too long after I start, their eyes begin to glass over and they kind of turn away and leave. But for those who do this, it means more than somebody who's never done it. Yeah. And from that standpoint, and he's been my best pupil.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and the truth is, you just gotta. A lot of people are afraid to take their models apart and weather the model, and just that's why we like brass models, because it's really easy to strip it, start all over again, clean it up, get it back to brand new. Unlike on a plastic model, you can't do that. You can on a brass model. So that has been one of the best parts of brass. And when I first started out, and you tend to overdo it, and it just quite doesn't run. And then as you learn to work with your brushes and get the strokes right, and things start to how do you work things and what the actual engine does, you actually refine yourself, and you get much better at it. But the key is one of the things that he says is, I was willing to try and work it out. That a lot of people think that, I just want to be done in one day. This is not the type of paint job that you're not going to do in one day. This is it doesn't matter whether we go a light or whether we do heavy weathering. It's the same process all along, and it's basically completely disassembling the model and going through it little by little, and just when we do it light, it's not as many washes, but it still requires the same amount of brush strokes and the same amount of time to get through it.
Yeah, and Juan, I think you helped eliminate the first misconception many may have about weathering. One, that it's easier than painting, and two, that you don't have to take your model apart, because an amateur trying to weather may just think he can, not have to do that. But there's a great amount of work, and we're going to see that, as you mentioned, Roland, throughout this series, really get an appreciation for what goes into it.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, we're going to hear a lot of terms that we're going to let you explain to us. What is washing? What is dirt? What does all of that mean when it comes to weathering of a model? So we look forward to getting to that in our series.
I'm Scott Inman from Sacramento, California, and you're watching Monday Morning Express.
That transition that you talked about earlier, going from, let's say, international, then you went into Olympia and Akani. They were prior to PFM. So that's when these lesser builders got together and they started working together to fill these that was a large order for them. So this is the beginning of, to me, the true brass industry. We've got some really nice models coming from this consortium of builders that started pooling together and working together to fill these large orders.
Right. And then when PFM came on the scene, the quality became...
Yeah, when Bill Ryan came in, he upped the standard. He wanted better things, and then that's when he introduced the cow scale parts, and then things started elevating from there. Then it became very, very competitive. West Side Models came in and worked with Katsumi and Taki, and right away he didn't have access to the cow scale parts until he cut a deal with Bill Ryan and got the cow scale parts. So, yeah.
So those were important things that happened in in the history of importing.
Yeah, and this started taking place right in the early 60s.
Yes,
when it really started seeing some very, very nice models.
Right.
Yeah.
So actually, from in the 60s or early 70s were heydays in plus model
for Japanese.
For Japanese.
Yeah.
Labor cost in Japan suddenly went higher, and but the order had expanded to maximum beyond the ability of every builders.
Working capacity.
So, second generation of importer in United States, like Overland or Sunset, had to go Korea.
Right.
And they found Korean labor cost were quite cheap, and they could accept so many orders in one time. So builders' mind, importers' mind had moved to Korea.
Right.
But prior to that, Dick Truesdale, Westside Models, he was the one that started placing the large orders. I know that his first narrow gauge project was C16, and he placed an order for 1,200.
Right.
Unheard of, you know. And Mizuno said no, and then KTM says, of course.
Right.
Had no idea how they were going to do it. But beautiful models, finished. Yeah, that was Katsumi.
For Japanese builder, 200 or maximum 300 is maximum for accepting the order.
Yeah.
But Korean, 500, 1,100 order, they are welcome. So before they found Korean builders, every importer had very stressed with Japanese builders' slow pace business. But on the other hand, for Japanese builders, order was too large for their ability. So perhaps every project with Japanese builder, the quantity would be less than 300.
Okay.
Mostly in 200.
Matsumoto-san, was it not Tenshodo that went to Korea first?
No, first was Nakamura,
Nakamura went there,
Kumata.
Yeah.
Originally, their intention, they would like to use Korean builders as their subcontractor.
Right.
Just doing maybe the etching or the body part, and then do the final assembly in Japan.
Sure.
So
they
that's
were
how the
teaching
Koreans came in. Yeah.
part of their trade.
And at that time, Korean builders could not get their motors in Korea. So they had to get their motors from Japanese motor maker. So Kumata or Nakamura had planned use them as subcontractors. Sometimes their intention they take their products from Korea only with soldering, but the final assembly done in
Yeah,
Japan.
Japan.
But Korean builders realize, they do not need Japanese exporter. They would like to have the business directly with Japanese, American
all to
importer.
themselves.
Yes.
And it was Raoul Martin of Northwest Short Line was the first one to do a complete order in Korea.
Which model was that?
The Disaster Series.
Oh, yeah, complete with fingerprint.
And believe it or not, that was done by Sam Hongsa, but Seiman Lee, the father of
Really?
Se-young Lee. That was his first project. And
Interesting.
he never even knew what a caboose was.
Most important was they could make the products rapidly. So
And inexpensively.
yes,
This is when,
Yes.
at this time, the Japan economy was just booming. And of course, pay scales in the factories were such that they had to keep raising the prices of the brass. That's why the Korean market looked inviting, because they could get the models for half the price.
Right. And more of them.
And well, more, but I mean, even then the
but
quantity,
less money.
the quantity was not as good, but you know, the price was better.
Right.
And of course, the American market accepted that. But there were still two companies that stayed in business, Tenshodo and Katsumi. And of course, Tenshodo and Katsumi are still in business.
yes, for Japanese prototype.
Yeah, but they're still in business.
And they're building beautiful models.
Yeah.
But price become very high.
Are they still in the same location?
Yes,
Yes.
yes. Even the Kawaii, they shrink their business, but they still retain the shop.
Oh, really?
In same place.
Oh, I didn't know
But,
Kawaii was still there.
Tetsudo Mokesha was closed when Mr. Torigai has passed away. If you did not have a Korean maker, you could not get such a large kind of prototype because Japanese builder always likes order with repeating same models.
Yeah.
Right.
You perhaps know Tenshodo made various Great Northern engines several times, repeating.
Right.
So before Korean builders came to the market, the number of prototype in nature was very small. Only Great Northern by Tenshodo or Tetsudo, and Southern Pacific from Katsumi, not so large kinds.
Even with like passenger cars in Japan, they do a 70-foot, but they would not do an 80-foot at the same time, or a 60-foot.
Right.
So we had to figure production runs, there would be 60-foot cars in that one, and then 72-foot in that one, and sometimes we'd have to hold them back.
Got complicated,
So that's why we could never do complete trains at that time, as far as passenger cars go, because they'd only do an 84-foot car or a 70-foot car, but they wouldn't mix them up. Where in Korea, you know, no problem, whatever we want. So that's when it started getting complete passenger trains.
Next week on MME, Boyd shows us how to properly install windows on brass passenger cars. Also, we get to find out about the new Boyd tags. Bob Darwin shows us an easy way to get an accurate scale speed for your model trains. Scott Inman shows us more about installing DCC in various sized steam locomotives.